All right, let's dive right in. We're going to talk about mastering event management. Basically, how you can finally get a real handle on your IT environment. And we're not going to do it with guesswork. We're going to do it by learning the very specific language of KPIs, the key performance indicators that lead to actual control. You know this feeling, right? If you've ever been in ops, you've lived it. The dashboard is just a sea of blinking red lights, your phone won't stop buzzing, and every single one of those alerts could be a massive critical failure. Or, it could be absolutely nothing. Talk about alert fatigue, it's exhausting. But what if you could just cut through all that chaos? What if you had like a secret decoder ring for your systems? Well, that's exactly what we're going to do today. We're going to learn the language that takes all that system noise and turns it into a signal that's crystal clear and actually useful. And that language? It's all spoken through event management KPIs. Now, these aren't just some boring numbers on a spreadsheet. Think of them more like the vital signs for your system's health. They are the specific indicators we use to measure what's going on, to really understand it, and this is the most important part, to optimize the health and stability of our entire setup. Okay, so first things first, we have to tackle the biggest challenge of all, taming the absolute flood of data our systems are constantly throwing at us. This is all about separating that one crucial signal from an entire ocean of noise. And I'm not kidding when I say a flood. A big organization can see millions of events every single day. That is just a massive scale to deal with. And that brings us to the real heart of the problem, doesn't it? Not every event matters. In fact, most of them don't. So the big question you have to ask is, of all that data, how much of it is just static? How much is just noise? Now, this is where it gets really interesting. Look at this target. For a really well-run system, the goal is to have your noise level be below 90%. Think about that. That means for every 10 events that come through the door, you expect 9 of them to be noise that the system can just handle and ignore on its own. Only one, just one, should need a human to even look at it. So how do we get to that point? Well, we focus on these 3 specific KPIs. First, that event noise ratio we just talked about. Gotta keep it under 90%. Next, we look at the percentage of events that actually turn into real incidents. We want that number to be tiny, less than 2%. And finally, false positives. Those alerts that go off for no good reason, keep them under 5%. These 3 numbers, they're your shield against the noise. All right, so let's say we've got the noise filtered out. Now the whole game changes. It's not about volume anymore. It's about speed. We're in a race from the moment we detect an issue to the moment we resolve it. And let's be real, the only way you're going to win that race is with smart automation. And the very first part of that race is all about how fast you even know something's wrong. We measure this with mean time to detect, or MTD. It's a super critical number that tells you just how responsive your monitoring actually is. So, how fast is fast enough? The target is under 60 seconds. Let that sink in for a moment. From the instant an issue happens to the moment your system raises an alert, you have less than a minute. Any longer than that, and you're already playing catch-up. But look, knowing there's a problem is only half the battle, right? You can't have your engineers manually jumping on every single actionable alert. It's impossible at scale. So the only way you win that second race, the race to actually fix the problem, is with automation. And this number right here, this shows you the true power of good automation. A mature organization is aiming to have over 95% of its events auto-closed. That means the system sees it, understands it, confirms everything's okay, and then closes it out. No human ever has to touch it. That's what frees up your team to focus on the really gnarly problems. So, we've tackled the noise, we've built for speed, but what's the real impact on the business? What does it all add up to? Well, this last part is about measuring what really, truly matters. The accuracy of our system, and ultimately, our ability to stop problems before they even start. This chart just lays it all out, plain and simple. It shows the journey from a developing organization to a mature one. Check out monitoring coverage. A mature org is watching over 98% of its critical stuff. They see practically everything. And what's even crazier is that they automatically fix over 80% of critical events, while a developing team is lucky to hit 40%. I mean, that is a night and day difference. So, how do you make that leap? It's a pretty logical path. First, you have to be able to see the problems, which means getting that high monitoring coverage. Then, your rules and alerts have to be accurate so you can actually trust what you're seeing. And only when you have those two things can you get to the Holy Grail, actually preventing incidents from ever happening at all. At the end of the day, these are the goals that really define success. Monitoring coverage over 98%. Event rule accuracy that isn't just set once and forgotten, but is always being tweaked and improved. And then the ultimate metric, the number of incidents prevented. That's how you prove you finally moved from just fighting fires to proactively keeping your systems healthy. It really all boils down to this simple but incredibly powerful idea. You can't improve something you aren't measuring. It's as simple as that. What gets measured gets managed. So, think of everything we just went over as your personal toolkit. These detailed KPIs, from noise ratios to auto remediation rates, they're the tools you need to take your organization out of that state of reactive chaos and into a state of calm, proactive control. And I'll leave you with this one final question to think about. When you look at your own system, your own team, and your own challenges, which one of these KPIs, if you just started focusing on it tomorrow, do you think would make the biggest difference? Which one could really start to unlock control for you? Definitely something to think about. Thanks so much for tuning in.